Black Lagoon explores the greyness of morality primarily from the lenses of the black spectrum. It is within the black that it provokes you, presenting the hard-hitting questions, while at the same time, the chaos that comes with it and the tasteful handling of every aspect gives the show such a memorable identity. In this reminiscing review, let's enter Roanapur again and rediscover this well-beloved classic. The show starts off from the perspective of a Japanese salaryman named Okajima Rokuro, who is at his brink of being fed up by the lifestyle he has participated in. Putting up with the hierarchy of his company has taken a toll on him mentally, yet these feelings remain pent up and haven't had a chance to submerge. Until by chance, Okajima's position led him into being kidnapped by a group of pirates called Lagoon Company, who is after some top secret documents he was supposed to deliver on his unfortunate business trip. Soon after, they got attacked by a group of mercenaries sent by Okajima's higher-ups. Upon a contact from his boss, he was told to sacrifice himself for the sake of the industry and perish from society along with the secrets of the document. A betrayal enough to push his mental restraints to the limit, losing all hopes toward the hands that fed him poorly. After surviving over impossible odds against the mercenaries with a satisfactory manner, a chance for Okajima to return to Japan as a normal citizen lies in front of him. But as he has already sick of being treated as a worthless pawn, he refuses the offer. Declaring his own death and burning the only bridge back home, he adapts the nickname given by the leader of Lagoon Company in a somber but dedicated manner and joined the pirates. The newly reborn Rock has sunk to the bedrock of a very frightening ocean. The character exploration of Rock would only come into play way later in the entire series, after his experience in the gut hole thickens. So for the most part, he is a vessel for us to experience the lawless world he got himself into. As he is now a part of Lagoon Company, his perspectives as a newcomer into this dirty society is what we relate upon. We would sympathize with whoever crosses fate with him, but that is all we do. Sympathize, but nothing we can do, which is a tone of the show I actually adore. Oftentimes, stories with a premise like this could lead to several generic directions. One being, the innocent outsider would later learn the ugliness of this land and tries to make a change, no matter the scale of his efforts or the outcome. Or, having a life so miserable we root for the protagonist to regain their initial normal life. But Black Lagoon is no such story. This fictional city named Roanapur is a merciless, power-driven place, unshakable from outer influences, and Rock can only adapt himself to survive in this nasty gutter, while not tainting his own hands with blood directly. There's nothing sweet brushed upon the tone of the show. It would rather lean towards campy coolness with some don't give a damn attitude. Dark humor remains dark, no milk allowed. Guns and dirt instead of roses. The show is not trying to preach any messages by hard selling the dark either. They just present the ugliness of this world for what it is and let us soak in however much as we can. From racism to terrorism to war. All these heavy and political affairs are delivered not with a point, nor questioning's intent. There's little to no moral to be learned from the stories of the show, let alone commentaries on the issues. Just perspectives and the defects they brought to the world. The rule of the outliers is that you don't dwell on each other's past, and universal law often mentioned in underground stories similar to this, and the show reflects that saying very well down to the character design. All members of the Lagoon Company are visually foreign to one another. While it can easily be seen as mediocre design, I find it befitting to the show. Since their backstories are deliberately hidden away from the audience, aside from the occasional hints, it is a sensible design choice for them to look independently unique with each other, while having just a little identity being represented on their clothing, bearing something iconic visually. Dutch has the glasses, Revi with her tank top and hot pants combination, Benny with the Hawaii shirt, and Rock, who prefers rocking his own formal office wears. Aesthetic-wise, there are still cohesion, very subtle but no careless decisions. What's more is that the design plays into the chemistry between them. There is no deep camaraderie within the team. Decisions they made were not to benefit selfishness, but the means to live by in this ugly society. There are no animosities between them, but their connections remain loosely tied along the ride, no strings attached. It is a dynamic you don't usually get in other shows featuring a group of people working together, where conflicts or teamwork sparks excitement. But surprisingly, it slowly grows on me. It is through the events along the show we learn about the characters, how they react upon the situations in front of them, unveil their personalities little by little, quirks that tells you where their dynamic as a team lies, and how they complement each other. For example, Revi is a hot-blooded gunner who would gladly jump into a gunfight if it means to get over an obstacle, and Rock is there to keep the melting point in check so that their missions may use a little less gunpowder. I thoroughly enjoyed every character in the show, no matter how much screen time they managed to talk. However, if there's a nitpick from me, it will be an element within the dialogues that bothers me a little. Throughout the entirety of the show, characters would occasionally make references on spaghetti western films or some sports superstar to illustrate the ideas they have in mind. As if the author needs more one-liners to mimic the sense of cool that were common in those films, it has gone to a point of relentless and obnoxious. It will be more palpable if the show is self-aware about these remarks, but I can't see it being the case overall. They feel more like stock lines ready to be dispensed whenever the chances arrive. Even though Black Lagoon is heavily influenced by mafia films not just from the West but the East, and the author of the manga, Hiroe Rei, managed to put together an interesting setting as such, I do not get the sense that Black Lagoon was made as a love letter to the material it was inspired by. Rather, I feel like the setting is just a stepping stone for him to have a rowdy sandbox to play with. And these one-line references certainly do not feel like homages when they are tossed around easily, at least coming from the anime where you have actors reading them out loud. I guess you can call it a little charm of the show if you can put up with it, or find them relatable due to your background. But personally, they are a little too much for me. Strip away the direct references though, I would be lying if I say I don't find the conversations between the characters give off a cool tone. Thankfully, what the characters offered otherwise are enough to override the awkwardness coming from this little problem. Except for the last stretch of Season 2 and the 5 episodes OVA, which cover some of the lengthier arcs from the manga, most of the entirety of both TV seasons would spend 3 to 4 episodes to conclude a story, and it is through these events we get to explore the cartels in Roanapur, the true canons of the place. The leaders are all strong characters as you would expect, but their personalities, ideals, and their ways of resolving problems set them apart, all accumulate into a diverse cast of individuals. Sadly, except for Balalaika, an ex-Russian military warhead whose influence is the most pronounced in Roanapur, the other big guns are benched after their small little time of fame. The boss of the Hong Kong triad, Mr. Chang, pops up here and there, indicating he has a bigger shadow behind the operations, but they are teasingly brief. It is not a detriment as the spotlights are gradually put on Balalaika, however. Her presence alone is more than enough to keep the tone of the show hard-locked into unpleasantness whenever she's involved. The group of people she commands, known as Hotel Moscow, has a military background which allows them to operate in an entire different level compared to every other parties in Roanapur, a distinct characteristic that sets themselves way apart from your typical thugs and mercenaries that plagues the city. Due to this power she holds and her extreme attitude, incidents that involve her are always impressive to witness as she gets things done her way. Her merciless are not conveyed by any external means, like grotesque facial expressions or some out there character design, but so ingrained within her to the point of eerie, evoking a kind of visceral of her own league, unique to this character. Brutal decisions made in a snap of a finger, and nothing seems to faze her at all. A tyrant so above that no one can surpass but to obey unconditionally. Balalaika is easily one of the most powerful characters I have experienced in media. If anything else mentioned in this video didn't entice you enough to watch the show, I would say to experience this character alone is why you have to give this show a chance. If you are looking for action, especially with realistic firearms, Black Lagoon has it covered. The show was produced by Studio Madhouse, and it is exactly the kind of quality you can expect from the veteran studio. Action scenes that are consistently well animated and directed are featured whenever they kickstart the engine, and the havoc they stirs leave no shortage of your blood pumped. Reckless and spontaneous sequences always keep the action interesting, and with unique event-bound character appearances in every story arc, things get rowdy and exciting, and the smell of the gunpowder never ceases. Soon you'll be glad the lagoons are always in the midst of them. The show doesn't present itself as a gun nerd's bonanza, like explaining intricacies of guns and calibers or citing their names etc., despite featuring quite an amount of detail-looking firearms. In fact, there's a scene that mocks said attitude. Rather, it features over-the-top actions that contradict with the realism approach the show tends to stick with. Some characters are capable of performing extreme stunts that are out of bounds of what actual human can do. If you are bothered by this little jump of tone from the actions they provide, you might need to readjust your headspace just a little when they come to you. But I assure you the actions are in good taste. Exaggerating is necessary for the sake of the impact they wanted to achieve. After the roller coaster actions, missions will always resolve in a more calmly manner, neutralizing the pace for a satisfying finish. This is also reflected by the music of choice. Rock and roll and occasional heavier metal go along with the rowdy high-tempo sequences, and some relaxing jungle music during exposition brings a strong tropical jungle vibe into their respective moments. The music was composed by Edison, who I couldn't dig up more of their works sadly, but nonetheless, I appreciate the sheer amount of varieties they have brought into the show. Personal favorite has to be Teardrops to Earth, as it is a stark contrast to the beating of metals, always landing a melancholic note before another crazy adventure knocks on the lagoon's door again. El Sol se recuesta, a Colombian folk piece heavily used in a company with Roberta's initial appearance in episode 8, sounds authentic, yet in contrast with the presentation of that episode gives off a touch of comedic air. If you're more keen towards a more popular and catchy piece, the opening, Red Fraction, performed by Mel, will hopefully catch your attention. A suitable OP as it pumps your adrenaline high up prior to the beginning of each episode. Black Lagoon is an exceptional show. It has a setting that allows societal extremes to be the norm. Badass characters who you can enjoy without needing too much of a glimpse to their past fully inhabit within Roanapur as a result of that. Quality gunfights keep the fire burning, and a dark tone not trying to teach a lesson, rather, only a reminder of how twisted this world can be. Yet there are plenty of memorable moments waiting to be taken away, both exciting and heavy. A high recommendation from me and should be an instant classic. Go watch Black Lagoon and have a blast. Thank you for sticking with me. This video is one of many pre-made videos I'm planning to release weekly for the coming months, an attempt to kickstart the channel. So if you are looking for more anime content, make sure to subscribe to my channel, Moon Anime. They won't be all reviews, so you may expect something different from my future uploads. A huge thanks if you happen to share the video around. Reminiscing review is a concept where I review older anime so that to those who have watched the show may have a decent throwback, and a recommendation to those who have not. I do encourage a rewatch if you are the former. Feel free to let me know what you think about this review style or the video in general. Let me know what's your take on Black Lagoon. And if you want more, check out my other videos. I also have an in-depth video game analysis channel before I try stepping into the anime territory, so give that a visit if you want some longer videos. Follow me on Twitter at MoonAnime9 for occasional little thoughts, all links in the description. Once again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you from the moon. 次回 on Moon Anime.